Hello everybody, welcome to the latest in the offline educationals. This one is identifying range. There are a few things I use for identifying range, and I list as many of them as I can think of from my feeble memory right here now. First off, I suppose, is the clock angles of the mid Bollinger Band and the 55 and the 144 EMA. What do I mean by clock angles? Well, here we can see it's clearly 4 o'clock and it's in the cell angle. Here it's at 2 o'clock on a biangle, but there was a change over here where it ranged out flat 3 p.m. for a while. And if we scroll back, I'm sure we won't have far to go to find the place where it's relatively flat, and the flat angle of that isn't very good for us. Similarly with the 55 EMA or the 144 EMA, where they are flat, it's not great for us. It's that kind of 3 o'clock time from the clock angle there. Then I look at where is the mid BB in relation to the 55 and the 144, and in this case you can see pretty close together, some range here. Across here we've dropped away, cool, but then we start coming back up whilst the 144 is still coming down and the 55 is angled up. So these are signs of range. Unless they're all facing the same direction, down, 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 the angle don't really matter so much. So long as it's down, 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 it's going down. Up, up, down. It's not going up then, is it? You know, because one disagrees. Do all doctors concur, we often say, and in this case, no, this guy doesn't. He thinks price is going to go down, and of course he's heavier weighted than those, so he's probably going to outrank them, and in this case he certainly did, didn't he? The other thing we look at is the relationship to mid BB in terms of, is it in between the 55 and the 144? Yes, it is a sign of range. Or is it the wrong side of them? We won't have to go too far back, I'm sure, to find a point in time where it is, here you go, it's below a purple, which is below a pink. Now they suggest long, whilst the fact that the mid Bollinger is below suggests short. However, we can see price did come back, and then we get the cross where we go into full on sell mode, purple, pink, white, or full on buy mode, purple, pink, white. From bottom up, purple at the bottom, pink in the middle, white at the top, we're in full on buy mode. Full on sell mode, purple at the top, pink in the middle, white at the bottom. Now we're in full on sell mode there. So their relationship is very important. The other thing we look at is, are the bands, these actual outer Bollinger bands, contracting here, range, or expanding here, volume? We can look at that and we can see volume, and then we don't mind some range on the way down, but we can see once they're all going the same way, we get some evidence of range, and we look at being able to identify that in a moment. But then the combination of secondary indicators, maybe it's a MACD, TSI, doesn't matter, whatever you're using there, the location in comparison to price. That will help you, because you will see evidence of divergence, lower lows over higher lows, and you will see the trend for the moment ends and we get a pullback. We retrace to the mid Bollinger, which acts as a pivot zone, and then we can carry on down. But the bands are closing in at the same time, therefore enabling you to identify clearly range. I sometimes feel it isn't the identification of range that's the problem, it's the behaving yourselves properly while there is range about. People think, oh, but it's going to break, it's going to break, it's going to break, and you assume too much instead of waiting for it to actually break and to show you that it's really gone. So those combinations help as well. And then I suppose, not really last and certainly not least by any means, but any signs of support or resistance along or from any of the Camarilla levels that we look at, or higher value EMAs, on the higher time frames too. You can see there we've ranged along the R3. Now we're perhaps ranging along the S3, but we also need to look at the daily and the 4 hourly to see what's the magnet. Okay, it's our 55 and our 144. What was the rejection? As expected, it was the R3. We anticipated that this morning, and there it is, delivering that. It is the 1st of March, and on the morning session today, we exactly looked at the potential for this to play out the diamond pattern we were looking at on the daily there. I've discussed the diamond with several people, so I'm not afraid to point out that I believe there was a daily diamond pattern and it's bearish, and we were expecting this drop. Now obviously we've dropped to S1, another potential zone of support. We've dropped to the 144 and the 55, a zone of potential support, so we might experience some consolidation there. Those are signs of range. Range, consolidation, it's the same thing. So we need to look at the higher value EMAs and how are they reacting. We can see where they're all coming together here. Okay, range, they've all come together. All of the EMAs that we look at and we favor, 55, 144, 233, 377, 610 and a 987, they're all wrapped together here. And where does price go? Not really anywhere while they're all close together, but when they start to separate or fan out, yes. And for sure, price below, you only want to sell it. Price above, you only want to buy it. We can see other instances of range from when we, there you go, there's a classic example of how higher value EMAs can be used to identify range. We don't seem able to break above the 610 right here. Same time, we don't seem able to break below the 233 right here. So for this whole period of 30, 60, 90, 90 and 30, there's 2 hours, 2.5 hours there of range. Okay, it's the earlier hours of the morning. Notwithstanding the time, we're using the higher value EMAs and their ability to break below one of support or above one offering resistance as a sign of range, and we travel along those two lines until indeed price gets enough volume to break out. So there you have it, clock angles of the mid BB 55 and 144. Look at where the mid BB is in relation to the 55 and the 144, and indeed some of the other higher value EMAs. Then you need to look at, of course, the bands, narrowing or not. One of the things we can do with bands, if I show you on here, I've got the standard 21 period Bollinger bands, but if I go zigzaggy line and add one that I've already messed with the settings of, there you go, boom, we can get the range finder Bollinger bands right there, and they are only one standard deviation from the central line. And you can see once we're caught in between the two dark blue lines, range. We can take it a step further, you know, we can go into those and add exactly the same Bollinger bands. We can add 2 or 3 sets of them if you like, but on the last set there, what I'll do, instead of having one, I'll have 1.5 standard deviations. I won't save it as default, I'll just add them, and now you can see another level of range in between the two lines, or indeed coming back into the zone of the dark blue. We can go again and do exactly the same thing, but really, how busy do you want the charts? You know, instead of going 1.5, I'll go simply 0.5. I'll delete the 1 there, and you'll see that those points will move 0.5. tab, and you see now we end up with an even tighter inner Bollinger Band set up there. It's just another way of looking at range. If you want to add Bollinger Bands with less standard deviations than the norm, and you will see the channels, the sell channels, the buy channels, and indeed the range channels. It might help you. It might look too busy, so it's something that you're going to have to look at there if you're adding those indicators. Other than that, look at the clock angles and look at the relationship of the mid Bollinger Band with the higher value EMAs. Intersections are good once they're crossing in your favor. This is a bad cross, okay, because it's crossing up above when really they're in cell mode. So this isn't going to go that far unless they're going to cross over. They don't. However, the cell is in cell mode, and you can clearly see it moves nicely to a zone of support that we would expect. Thank you everybody for listening. Hope that was helpful. As always, fire away with questions, feedback, comments. You know where to find me. Thanks everybody. Trade safe, and I'll see you on the next live session. Bye bye.